We're back, people, and today we're doing another mock draft, version 6.0 for the Miami Dolphins. Another 7-rounder. We're going to go into this mock. This is the first post-free agency mock, so I think we're going to go for a little more need this time in the draft instead of best player available, because the Dolphins have 3 clear needs with guard, corner, and the defensive line room, which I think the D-line room has no one, but this class is stacked, so we should be able to get a decent amount into that room. I usually go BPA, but I just want to kind of mix it up and see what it looks like if we go a little more need-heavy. And some of these needs still can change because free agency, just because like sort of that first week is over, doesn't mean that you still can't add, because there are still some players out there that could potentially be difference makers for you. And it's not like you can fill not every team fills every single need up to, their exact standard of what they want. So let's kind of go through here, see what happens. I think this is pretty updated. I'm not going to do a trade yet. I think, trades will come eventually. But with how this board felt, interesting. Okay, not the greatest board for going in needs, in my opinion, because the top players they have listed here are not guys that I'm necessarily looking at. So, like, Will Johnson goes off the board, which is someone I'd be looking for. Mason Graham. Honestly, in this situation, if it was really me, I actually would take Tyler Warren, just BPA. I know we're not taking tight end right now. But that is something I would consider. Kelvin Banks is another one to consider. I just think it's a reach, and we can look. Let's go here. Let's look at tackles they have. Next one's Josh Simmons. He doesn't really play guard. Ursary is also a little bit of a reach. No guards at this point either. I don't think Tyler Booker is a good scheme fit at all. So I think I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. And really, they have some interesting rankings here. I think actually Kenneth Grant would be the most likely defensive tackle in play for Miami. You know what? I'm actually going to go, and, people might see this as a reach, but I'm drafting for need, and this is actually not a reach by my standards because I have him ranked very highly. Jahdae Barron, the Texas corner. I actually think, he tested well. He had an RAS of 8.8. Let's at 5'10", 194. Not the biggest guy, but I think he can play outside, inside, has it versatility. Such a good, football intelligence. His football intelligence is off the chart. He plays with great instincts on film. His zone awareness, ability to squeeze routes, makes plays at the catch point. I'm a huge fan. I think the only thing is he had short arms, which, as long as you're not playing press man a ton, which the Dolphins don't really do that, then it's not that big of a deal. So I think the Dolphins are actually going to love him as a player. And I think he's actually a very safe player in this class because he'll be able to play outside, but he also can play nickel. He can even play safety. There's reps of him playing as a dime linebacker. Can wear multiple hats, and for me, even though I know some people will see it as a reach, I think if the board falls like this, Barron actually has a chance of being the pick. I think Siobhan Ravel is another name to know as well. He's coming off the injury, so I think I'm just going to go with Barron. I could even see them being interested in Jahdae Campbell, but I'm trying to get these 3 positions off the board early. So this is what happens. Sometimes when you draft with need, maybe you miss out on a slightly better player, but I still think Barron is very, very good. Definitely wouldn't be mad. I think some people might be a little pissed about that one, but for me, I'm such a Jahdae Barron fan. He's such a safe player. Would make an impact right away. So let's see who we still have on the board. Okay, and then you get to the second round. Okay, so this is where things get interesting, because I really wanted to go O-line with the second round pick. And I still think there's some in this mock, they have all the guards going off the board. I don't think why all of these guards will completely be gone. They have literally a huge run happening. Because players like this, because I think some guards will still be on the board, and players like Kenneth Grant will be gone. I think probably Jackson Dart will be gone at this point as well. I think Josh Connerly is more likely to go before than some of the guards. And then some other players like Caleb Johnson could be gone. Azrai Thomas, probably, maybe Maxwell Hairston, if his off-field stuff checks out. Kenneth Grant will be gone, maybe even Trey Harris. But yeah, I think, but if the board does fall like this, we're drafting for need, it's pretty clearly you got to go for Kenneth Grant in this situation. So this is why, I've talked about it. I talked about my stream yesterday. If there was one thing I would attack next for Dolphins, I know people thinking D-line because you have nobody in that room. I still think you can get pretty cheap veteran options, just go near the minimum and then draft a couple guys. I think O-line, I would actually spend at O-line next again. I would get a solid guard, a Shaq Mason, who's a released veteran. That wouldn't be super expensive, but it would be a starter for you because I think you're more likely to take care of that guard situation in free agency than the draft. And corner, and then you focus pretty defensive heavily, corner, D-tackle are more likely to be impact players on the defense side of the ball right away. So in this situation, I'm going to go Kenneth Grant because the O-line just doesn't look that good. at that spot. I think you could go like a Marcus Bow. And the reason I don't want to go D-line, because like I bet D-line's going to look pretty good at once we get in like that 4th round. Like there's still going to be players on the board, because you still got CJ West, Jordan Phillips, Jamari Caldwell, JJ Pegues, all of these players who I really like. But let's go offensive line. They still have Emory Jones ranked pretty high. That's pretty rich for me. Jackson Slater, Luke Condra. These are all guys that we could attack a little bit later. So like that's just how it goes. Like this is why I don't like necessarily drafting for need. And I just like taking best player available, because sometimes you get to these spots and it's like, damn, I don't want to, like, I know they have Emory Jones as the highest player, but for me, that's not really the fit. And he's more of a tackle than a guard. But this is not a great spot. A lot of the guys at this point are kind of gone that I usually like around this area. No running back, receiver, tight ends. Terrence Ferguson would be fine here, but not my favorite. Could go D tackle, linebacker, corner, safety. Wow, they really don't have a lot of great value on the board at this point. Definitely one of the trickier spots we've been in. So do I just go for a super reach and take Jackson Slater? Because I said I was going to draft for need, and he could be a guard for you. And honestly, I could go Miles Frazier. I don't know why they have Miles Frazier ranked so low. From LSU, I actually think he'll probably go around this area. But this is tough. Definitely one of the... I feel like for a mock draft, usually the mock drafts are pretty unrealistic in the opposite direction. Like usually I have like so many options. This one almost feels unrealistic in the opposite direction of like, I feel like there's probably going to be at least a couple better players on the board at this point. Probably the most stumped you'll see me, I would, when it comes to mock drafts. So, we're just gonna fill a different need, I guess. We're gonna go Terrence Ferguson, because I don't think that's bad value, and it still fits a need. Tight end is a need. It really, like a wide tight end, inline guy, and Terrence Ferguson is at least more of that type of player. And then hopefully in round 4, like at least with this, like I know it's our 3rd round pick, but our round 3 and our round 4s are all very close together. So like once you get past the top 2, really you're kind of getting a lot of players in the same area anyways, because it's not a huge difference. And now we're still at 116. Now I think it's more, a little more acceptable to go like a Jackson Slater in this direction, because, you get him a little bit later. It's the same spot. 135 rolling in there. Who do we got? We could double up on stuff. I still think linebacker is still a potential need as well. You could go Munden or Demetrius Knight Jr. I think in this situation, I'm going to go Munden from Miami, just because I think the Dolphins definitely need some linebacker help. And now, do we double up? Now I think it's time to double up. We either double up at guard, where is Frazier, or we double up at D tackle. I think it probably makes more sense to double up at D tackle, just looking at the room right now. Because I think we do have another pick though, actually, coming up, so we can probably double up even at both. So I think I'm gonna just, based on PFN's board, they have Frazier rated lower, so I'm just gonna double up at D tackle. And I think last time I've taken Pegues a couple of times, so I think this time I'm gonna go either Aeneas Peebles or Ty Robinson. I always take Peebles and Pegues, so I'm gonna go Ty Robinson this time, who tested really well, 6'5", 288. There's some inconsistency, like they're talking about. He plays pretty high, like he's tall, but he does have a very good like first step at his size. So I think that is an interesting move for Miami to go in that direction. And then we go back. The top, they still have Mello Dotson. We took corner. You could go Malachi Moore. Safety is a need as well. Do we double up at this point Frazier, or do we go safety? Because I feel like I usually wait on safety until like the 7th, and safety is still kind of a need. You don't really have, like, I know you added people, but you didn't really add any guys. Like if you drafted Malachi Moore here, he actually would have a chance to start. And usually in round 5, you're not always drafting guys that have chances to start. And Malachi Moore actually would have that chance. So I'm gonna go there, roll into the 7th. This is why I don't love drafting for need. Like, this is not my favorite mock draft I've ever done. Really, the only great value pick you got here was Kenneth Grant, that's where you hit BPA need at the same time. That's why all the other mocks I've done, where like I've had arguments with people in the comments all the time. Where like, why did you take this player over this player? We need this position. I'm like, I'm just drafting best player available, and sometimes it ends up being needs, sometimes it doesn't. And to me, the Dolphins they have bigger needs at those spots, the 3 spots I talked about, but they still have other places that could easily be upgraded and still help out your team a ton. Like they're just slightly less needs. And I don't think it's that big of a deal to, go in those other directions. This still isn't a bad monk. Like if this was like the actual draft, like I wouldn't be mad about it. Like you're still getting impact players at a lot of these spots. It's just not my favorite players in those scenarios. We're gonna double up a tight end here, get an actual blocker in Jackson Haas. We're gonna take Willie Lampkin at 226, another guy would be, I think, great value in this spot. I don't know. I don't think either of these guys will be here. Like, I guess they could because Lampkin is super small and sometimes those guys drop, and then Haas is like strictly a blocker, but I actually think those guys actually have roles at the next level. They might be limited roles, but the role is nonetheless. And then at this point, who do we now? We took a corner. Could go another. We got 2 defensive backs. We got 2 D tackles, 2 tight ends, 2 guards. We got a linebacker. We kind of ignored like a lot of the QB ignored some skill positions, which is fine because the Dolphins don't necessarily need skill positions. It's not their biggest need. We didn't go after edge either. Tight end like Luke Lachey, not a horrible option, but we already have 2, and he's not the greatest player. Don't love those options. Elijah Huzzie is an option if they wanted to go double up on corner. Same with Bilal Kone. Those would be good value picks here, and I might do that. I actually want to look at this. I want to talk. I saw Jalen Lane. They have Jalen Lane at 272. Jalen Lane, I wonder if that is his testing right in here. Let's see. Yeah, 9.53. 5'9", 191. Jalen Lane, when I watched his film, actually really reminded me of like Malik Washington. Because I think they're similar sizes. I think Malik was more productive, but I do think Lane is more explosive, even more explosive. So I'm surprised they have Lane listed low. I actually think he's going to get drafted higher than this. And he has he has a low career drop rate, just like Malik Washington did. Definitely reminds me of Malik Washington. So I think a team would get an absolute steal with that. So we'll just, that would be someone I actually would consider at receiver. It's not the biggest need, but once you're in the 7th round, like you're really not looking at need that much. You go Nick Martin, athletic, undersized guy, former safety. You go him. I'm just gonna go Elijah Huzzie because he can also play nickel, and he's a potential dog on the outside. So definitely not a bad draft. I think people will be like realistic. It's a pretty unrealistic mock towards the end. Like I don't think a lot of those guys will be there. But I actually think the middle of the draft is probably one of the more realistic ones because sometimes guys fall. But like Terrence Ferguson, Jackson Slater, Small Money Jr., Ty Robinson all seem pretty realistic in that area. Same with Malachi Moore. I think once the 7th round guys seem a little unrealistic. And then Jahdae Barron, I think is an option. I think it's one of the sleeper options for Miami at 13. Like it wouldn't shock me at all. And I think with how that board fell, I wouldn't be mad about it either. So if you guys really do, just like comment, subscribe,